And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's potluck time. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. Heather Hansen, we've been talking a lot about food in the past 3 minutes, so it's only appropriate that we continue.
Move on with our potluck. Today's potluck is about the NCAA March Madness starting this week. There's been, obviously, since 1979 is the year that it became super popular. Why 1979?
Why?
Because Larry Bird's team played against Magic Johnson's team, right. Michigan State versus Indiana State.
That's right.
Big game, and ever since then it has consistently grown. Now it's something like, what did you say, 40 billion people?
There's 60 million people will fill out a bracket today, the next couple of days. Wow. 60 million people is estimated will fill out a bracket.
And we're all breaking the law.
We're not filling out the bracket.
Betting on
That's
it.
not betting on the pools. That's breaking the law.
Right, and that's my potluck for today, because it's against federal law to do sports gambling, it's against state law to do sports gambling, and yet the government just overlooks it. And in fact, President Obama fills out his bracket on national TV.
But you don't know if he bets.
Well, true. Now, no one has really been enforcing this since the early 90s. In 1992, an 18-year-old kid was arrested in his homeroom for handing out the brackets in his homeroom as a misdemeanor.
Wait, but that's not illegal. The brackets
aren't
illegal.
Well, apparently he was taking money at the time.
That's another story.
But the interesting thing is tomorrow, the NCAA is going to court in New Jersey to fight against legalized sports gambling. And I think it is absolutely ridiculous. We have lotteries, we have lottos, we have scratch tickets. Obviously, it's not gambling that's the problem. It's the fact that the sports teams are not yet able to make money off of the gambling that's the problem. So I really think that there's got to be a time. And I think the NBA, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, has sort of said it's sort of inevitable, but the time has got to come, and Jersey's pushing for it, for sports gambling to be legal.
It's absolutely inevitable.
And I'd like to nominate Pete Rose to head up the commission.
Hey,
that would be
that's a good idea.
Thank you.
And we can go one better, too, because it's estimated that we will lose $1.9 billion in wages and time work. It costs us $552.6 million an hour. But here's my favorite part. John Challenger, the CEO of Challenger & Gray, has come out and said, get out of the way. Stop. This is great. It's good for morale. It's good for the morale of the people who work here. It's like trying to stop a freight train. Jump on board and embrace it.
You're going to lose that many work hours Thursday and Friday alone when
that's
where it's
at.
But you know what, though?
But nobody's ever been prosecuted, right, except that one person.
I'm unaware. Not as far as I could see when I was looking into it today.
I don't think it ever has.
But it also, fantasy sports in most states are legal because it has some sense of skill, and it's not just picking a team. But there's a sense of skill. I mean, didn't Warren Buffett last year say he would give $1 million to anybody, $1 billion to anybody with the perfect bracket? It's
and nobody did it, right?
I saw there's a statistic that says the 9 seed beats the 8 seed 52% of the time.
You can get the winner.
Much.
That's not that hard. But you can't win every one all the way along.
Yeah. That's what makes it fun.
I got my annual email that I get every year, and I have since 1997, from some friends that work down on Wall Street. And if you want in $5,000, fill out a bracket. It's over $1 million now to the winner.
Right.
But you can't remember.
What's that?
Did you do it?
Right, so you better not.
You can't remember. You erased that email.
So Heather, since you are an expert on this, who wins this
Villanova, of course. My alma mater. They're first in the Big East.
I'll tell you who doesn't win.
Who?
And we'll have to end it there. Kentucky does not win.
Then Wisconsin wins.
They have not been challenged in that conference, and they're going to be exposed in the Sweet 16 by the University of Maryland, and we'll play back the tape gladly. Okay. Anyway, Bill Tucker, you're up next.
Well, that was my potluck. I'm jumping in on it too, because what I think is phenomenal is it is an American phenomenon. It's ingrained in the fabric of what we do, who we are. It's fun. Stop it. 60 million people fill out a bracket from anywhere from $5 to $5,000.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're right. It's good. And study after study shows that happy employees are productive employees. You run a workplace where people are glad to be there, happy and having a good time. They're productive. I don't know if it offsets the $1.9 billion in lost wages, but still.
I bet it does over time, though. I think that, when people are having a good time at work, they're more likely to stay a little bit later a different day. I think it's a good thing. I don't have any issue with everybody at my work doing it, as long as they're not betting and doing things illegal.
Guess what?
They are.
As long as no money knowingly exchanges hands.
So I hear this marketing every year by is it Christmas, Challenger, Gray, right? That firm, and they say, oh boy, all the distraction is going to cost $1.9 billion, right? If it isn't that distraction, it's going to be another distraction. It's going to be the Tinder. It's going to be the Facebook. It's going to be the Twitter. In other words, I understand this is a little bit more of a distraction, but come on, I don't see how they ever ever get to
can't
that
watch-
number. You can't quantify
Well, and
It'd be 2 minutes to fill out a bracket.
the one thing that I do see as a problem with it is when you see how little the athletes are getting a cut of all of this.
Hear,
you know,
hear.
you talk about the money, you talk about the money lost, you talk the productivity, you talk
But
about
that's
the money
that's
made
not the
with
gambling.
the NCAA.
Let's just talk about the money they make.
Absolutely.
And the schools make
and
on them.
You see those kids who say, I'm hungry at night. I mean, it's
That's right.
ridiculous.
It's the greatest business model maybe ever, where it's like putting on a play on Broadway and you don't have to pay the actors, but yet you get to charge all this money, and then the NCAA just takes it all in with all the TV
And that's just
contracts
the
and rights.
NCAA's part. What about the schools?
That's
Yeah.
a very good point. Anyway, we have to take a quick break, but don't worry, when we come back, we'll have even more potluck for you, including my own. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Conchin. If you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck, where we're sharing our favorite stories of the day. Ricky Younger, what you got?
I got a double standard. There seems to be a double standard at work where certain people who break the rules of releasing and disclosing classified information, i.e. John Petraeus, ends up getting a pass. He's not going to jail. He ended up being charged with a misdemeanor for divulging some seriously secret military secrets to his girlfriend, who was writing a book about him, and yet others, including one fellow who was a CIA agent who did 2 years for telling a reporter the name of a CIA interrogation person, another guy who had shared something with a reporter about North Korea, people who have committed offenses that are either no worse and probably less are getting sentenced to a couple years in jail. That doesn't seem right. If you're close to the administration, and Petraeus, and I said John, it's David, by the way, and General Petraeus is still advising this White House.
On ISIS right now.
Yeah.
And he's going to get, a slap on the wrist having committed what they call a misdemeanor when other people doing the same thing are going to jail for a couple of years. That's not okay.
Well, and there's two reasons potentially for it. One is that he's so helpful in advising on ISIS that they can't get rid of him. And the other, maybe more likely reason is the fear that he was going to join in with Gates and Panetta and sort of jump in on this, criticizing the administration on their foreign policy.
That may be why,
And
but that's not legit.
So
No,
let's buy
agree.
his silence?
Right.
Is that the argument?
I think that there's an argument to be made there.
Well, you know what? There's actually a long history of this happening. John Fund and I were actually talking about this earlier today. There is a long history of those who are closest to whatever the administration is. Somehow it's not so terrible when they do it, but yet when someone else does it, they go to jail. It's
Well,
crazy.
If you're the family members of those people who are
pretty
going to
serious
jail,
to you,
I saw
you
that
bet.
interview. But you do have to give a little bit of leeway, because there's always prosecution discretion. There's always discretion for judges. There's always discretion for prosecutors, and so there's always going to be some hypocrisy in the system. Now, this is really to the nth degree.
You're saying it was a job well done in Iraq and Afghanistan and all the work that was done there. They're like, yeah, he may have, made some mistakes here. He probably should be in jail, but, he did such a nice job.
Well,
Let's not prosecute him.
There's that, or he might come around and say our foreign policy stinks, and if we give him this nice deal, maybe he won't do that. Those are two different ways of looking at it.
Or he's got friends in powerful places where these other people don't.
I suspect so.
And he's a powerful man
Combination.
himself.
But this is such a public thing. It's just truly offensive.
It's a public thing.
And by the way, I'm not arguing for a bigger punishment
For him,
necessarily for
it's-
Petraeus. It's the
less
other
for
people.
the
It's the
others.
injustice
Yeah.
to the other people.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
offensive, yeah.
You say it's a public thing, but I haven't really read all that much about it, to be honest with
Well.
you. Very little media coverage around this.
Yeah,
And that
no
helps
doubt.
keep
Yeah,
everything
that's right.
on the down low. Anyway, it's my turn. And I just got back from a wonderful vacation. I went actually on holiday this weekend. That's what the pretentious people call it, holiday. I like that. Anyway, the weather was perfect. Let me think back for a moment, or just show you a picture. 85 degrees each day in a little town that is a planet unto itself, Jupiter. There's conch cruises there. Look at that. Beautiful water there. The wife got in some photo shoots as well. It was a working holiday for her. Okay, I took that shot. She doesn't actually model, but probably should. Anyway, the travel to and from, however, a completely different story. An utter disaster. The airline that will be left nameless, okay, it starts with a U, lost my wife's suitcase on the way out, which happened to have most of our stuff in it. And we had to wait at the airport until the next flight came in after landing. Yes, we have left from Newark, which didn't look nearly like that in that B-roll that you see. Good Lord. So yeah, it's like, okay, your bag's on another flight, even though we checked in with plenty of time. We could either get it to your hotel room in 5 hours, or you could wait for it to come in on the next flight, which we decided to do because it basically had all of our clothes in it. And when you go from 40 here in New Jersey or New York and 85 in Florida, you kind of need some clothes. So instead of purchasing them, whatever. And oh, by the way, it costs $50 just to check one bag. So, all right, it happens. It's flying in 2015. I get it. So on the way home, after being exhausted, maybe a little hungover from getting overserved, oh no, there's a 1-hour flight delay after you aboard the plane and you're sitting in your seat. Couldn't just wait till then. All right, that happens as well. I'm willing to forgive that. And then when we get off the plane, our bags take almost 90 minutes to make it from the plane to the carousel at 9:30 at night at Newark. And it just seems like it's a very simple thing, people, that it gets off the plane and then you put it on a carousel.
Here.
That's it, delivering a pizza.
Next time you do that, ship it.
Whoa.
I'm getting
to
just
that.
don't check
I'm
it.
getting to that. Not quite done with the rant. Anyway, it got to the point where my dog is waiting in a car with my nephew. We had to bring him into the airport. You see the bags there in the background because he cramps up when he's in his little crate. All right, so you understand. So Rick Unger, you're right, who is my partner and the ping pong player partner and all that, gave me some great advice, and Bill just did as well. Never check a bag.
Never.
Just carry 2 carry-ons and just do laundry while you're there or something, but don't go through that. Rick, final word, 5 seconds.
We are united in this point of view.
Oh, wordplay. Again, we're not going to say what the airplane was or who the airline was. Anyway, that's all the time we have for Potluck. We come back at GA or Nay. It's the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV.